This is Ready, Set, Reiki, a podcast about Reiki, the universal energy life force. From the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, welcoming all systems, all lineages, and all levels. Reiki is a journey and not a destination. And on this Ready, Set, Reiki journey, I refer to myself as a guide rather than host, as I too am learning, traveling, supporting each other on this Reiki journey as well. And with that said, I am your guide, Tracy C. Wright. And today, what a wonderful opportunity I have to interview one of my favorite people. She's going to join me on this wonderful journey that we're going to take together. And her name is Cindy Meiri. Now, she is a certified and licensed massage in situ therapist, acutonic practitioner, Reiki master, teacher, and certified I Am Yoga Nidra advanced facilitator. Now she has over 25 years of professional experience. She is a 1995 graduate of the Swedish Institute College of Massage and Allied Health Sciences in New York City. Her former background was as a competitive gymnast and a professional modern dancer with a BFA in dance from the University of Illinois. She was also a founding member of the Scots, Wells, and Dancers in San Francisco. In addition to a core training in situ, therapeutic, and medical massage, she has training and experience in a wide range of body-mind techniques and therapies, such as pre-postnatal massage, aromatherapy, chakra healing, Hema and crystal bowl healing, yoga nidra, zero balancing, craniosacral therapy, and flower essence therapy. The focus of harmony, bodywork, and energy therapies is to support each person's optimal health and to facilitate the highest level of harmony in one's body, mind, and spirit. Welcome to Ready, Set, Reiki, Cindy.
Thank you, Tracy. It's so wonderful to be here. Thank you for asking me to be here.
Wonderful. So let's begin. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you read in my bio, as a young girl, I started. I was very, very active, and I started in gymnastics and dance around 5 years old. So I was very active physically my whole life, and I did sustain several injuries along the way. So I was already beginning my journey of learning about healing and what helped me and what made me feel vibrant again after any injury and helped me continue to move forward and enjoy those activities in life. So I didn't know that I was learning it at such a young age, but it started really early. And then I did go to college for dance. And when I was 19, I sustained an injury in my low back. I had a herniated disc in my low back. And it was pretty young to have that happen. And I was really laid up for a while. I had to stop dancing for a while. But the interesting thing was I went to a medical doctor just once. I saw him and he said to me, well, what are you going to do now that you can never do anything physical ever again? And to me, that made no sense whatsoever. It just didn't resonate with me at all. So I had a wonderful dance teacher in college who also did body work, and she did Alexander technique, which is a body work and alignment technique that it has a lot of energy involved in it, a lot of energy healing. And I started studying with her and receiving work from her. And, within 6 months to a year, my back was completely healed. And I went on to dance professionally, to finish college and dance professionally. And I just knew that there was so much more out there than what traditionally we know of as healing in the Western model. And so I went on to dance professionally, but about a year in, I was dancing here in San Francisco. And during the bows of one of the performances, I heard this voice from my inner wisdom. And it said, dance is really great and not what you're truly meant to be doing.
Oh, wow.
And I stood up in the bow, and we were still in front of the audience. And I was so blown away by this very clear voice from inside. So we did another bow and I said, okay, then what am I supposed to be doing? And when we stood up, and of course it was completely silent. So I just knew that meant that it was for me to It was for me to find. That was for me to go on the journey to figure out what was I was meant to do. But I stopped dancing pretty soon after that and moved to New York. And I just knew that there was something else. And so after a little bit of searching, I decided, I think I want to try, let's go to bodywork school. That feels like at least a step in the right direction. Something to do with healing. I know there's so much available for us that I don't know about, but I've experienced. The first day in my first class it was a shiatsu class, shiatsu 101. And I knew I already wanted to study shiatsu because it's this Japanese body work, but also energy work technique. And I didn't know what it was, but I was so fascinated. And the first day I got there and we all sat down and just sat in a silent meditation for about 10 minutes. And I just knew this is where I'm supposed to be. This is the first step on the journey of my new life. And I'm still in touch with that first teacher of mine 30 years later. He's still in New York, still practicing. He is absolutely fantastic. His name is Tom Banasiak. So he is he's my mentor, my teacher. And at this point, I can say I'm so fortunate that he is also my friend. And I'm still learning from him. I go back every year and receive sessions and discuss things with him. So he introduced me to acutonics. He introduced me to a lot of deep energy healing. So he was really my first true teacher. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So, yeah.
So when did Reiki come into your life? Did you
Yeah.
find Reiki or did Reiki find you?
Oh, Reiki found me. Absolutely. As you know, as these things go. Once I decided I was open to learning, that's Reiki found me. So I finished massage school. I worked for a year in Manhattan, and then my husband and I moved to Colorado, where I started working there. And I continued my studies of shiatsu, but I was also doing more traditional massage and kind of blending the two and finding what people were interested in and what really excited me to work with. Always the energy was something I wanted to work with. And I had a friend who was also a colleague, and she was also studying. And so I'd been practicing about 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. And this friend said, I just learned about a Reiki teacher who is in Southern Colorado, and I'm gonna go take a workshop. Do you want to come? It was like that following weekend or something. And I said, yeah, I think I do. I didn't know anything about Reiki, but I'd heard the word.
Mhm.
So just like many people, I'd heard the word floating around and didn't really know what it meant. But I showed up at the workshop. It was a Reiki level 1 workshop over a weekend. And my first teacher's name was Ray Shuford, this amazing, beautiful woman. She had this gorgeous, long, blonde, curly hair. She was just she was luminescent, just
Right.
an amazing being. And I took the first level 1 workshop and I was just blown away. And I just knew, I didn't know exactly how I was going to incorporate it, but I just knew that, again, that was where I was supposed to be. So I just continued studying with her. And I think I did it rather slowly compared to how some people do it now. I did the Reiki 1, I waited a few months, I did Reiki 2. And they were small groups of like 6 or 8, maybe 10 people. And it was at her house. And she had a big medicine wheel in her backyard. So it was this very deeply spiritual place. And it was the first time that I even saw crystal bowls. She had a few crystal bowls. So this is back in like 1998 or so. And so I got my master. Let's see, I did Reiki level 1 and 2, and then just practiced for a long time with that. And then I don't think I got my master until like 2001, 2002, somewhere in there. Because
Beautiful.
I just did it as it felt natural. And I realized I was just infusing it into the work I was already doing.
Mm.
I wasn't sure if it was going to be something official or not official. And at the time, a lot of my clients did think that was pretty woo-woo at the time. So I realized instead of talking about it too much, I was just going to be practicing it. And then when they felt what was going on, if they asked questions, then I would let them know what we were
Sure.
doing. So it seemed like a really organic way to include it into
Oh,
body work that was more well known.
very good.
Yeah.
So, what system of Reiki did you study or have studied?
Mhm. So when I first studied, it was the Usui, just the Usui classic Reiki. There was no other name for it, just the classic Usui method, Reiki 1, 2, and Master. And that's what it was. Um, it was more that there was Tibetan symbols included in the kind that I studied in originally as well.
Mm,
And Ray Shuford was in a lineage of people that went back to William Rand's lineage, which we can talk about a little bit more later. But because I studied with him then later, and still consider myself a student of his as well. So that's the lineage that I really came through. But I did have another teacher who came more from Mrs. Takata's direct lineage. Um, and so she taught slightly differently, but the main symbols were all the same, you know. I don't remember what the lineage was called. It was still just called Usui Reiki, I believe, but it
right.
was a little bit more directly from Mrs. Takata. But yeah, so it seemed now that all these years later, I look back on it and it seems like it was pretty classic, you
Yeah,
know? Yeah.
very good. So, you have been working with this energy for quite some time and you're out being of service to so many people. What is a common misconception about Reiki?
Yeah, well, it is this kind of, again, now even more than ever, people have heard of Reiki,
Hmm.
uh, and maybe even experienced Reiki and still not quite sure exactly what it is, you know? So I do find myself very often just trying to make it really accessible, trying to help just um, help people understand that it's life force energy, which is literally what the name Reiki means, is universal life force energy. And since that's what it is, everything is already imbued with this life force energy anyway. Like we already have it. Whenever we are moving around, or even if we are just touching someone with love, or thinking of someone with love, or just living our lives, basically, we are filled with life force energy, you know. And so just helping people understand that it's not magic per se, although magical things happen when with a Reiki session. Um, it is very mystical, but it is also very practical because it's who we already are.
Right.
But then again, honing into it and learning how to work with it in a more specific way, and learning how to really kind of charge that up within ourselves, it does enhance the power, and it enhances the ability for that energy that's already here to really create miracles and healing in no time at all, you know?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So, your focus of harmony body work and energy therapy, you're helping support a person's optimal health, help facilitate their highest level of harmony in their body, their mind, and spirit, helping those that are having challenges and struggles. But what has been the biggest challenge, or rather struggle, you have faced in your own healing journey?
Mm. You know, it's always very interesting as a person who wants to help others. We always have lots of opportunities arise within ourselves to help us learn about healing. So, I mean, I would say that the first instance before I even knew about Reiki, when I injured my lower back, that seemed like a very large obstacle. There
Mhm.
was a great deal of physical pain. I had a lot of fear about whether or not I was going to be able to move my body, whether I was going to have a healthy body. There were obstacles from doctors and some physical therapists who just didn't have a very positive outlook or didn't seem very supportive of healing at the time. But I realize now that those were just those were actually offerings to me to see if what they were saying really resonated as more of an ultimate truth for me. So
Mhm.
I'm thankful to those people who gave me those obstacles as well, to see like, but that doesn't make any sense. How can I tap into a world of healing? How can I tap into the healing ability of my own body in a way that feels like it's empowering.
Mm,
You know? So even before I knew what Reiki was, I found a teacher who essentially was doing Reiki, even though
right.
she did not call it that, you know. And even though when I went to massage school and we were studying shiatsu, the life-giving energy is what we were supporting. So it may not have been called Reiki specifically, but now that I've learned Reiki and understand a little bit more about it after all these years, I know that ultimately, if we are nourishing that life-giving energy at the core, that's Reiki, you know. So
Right.
I think that I've had physical issues through the years, a broken foot, a sprained ankle. I've had issues with skin that have come up over like off and on throughout my life, like psoriasis and things like that that have flared. And then I've learned so much more about myself and about healing through the journey of that. Going through menopause was a very interesting journey that we
Mhm.
women know everyone is so individual, and yet there are many shared experiences during menopause as well. So, really expanding my sense of what healing is and can include during that time. And I really leaned into my acupuncturist, and acutonics really came into my life right around that perimenopause, just as I was entering menopause time,
Mhm.
working with the deeper energy of the body in new ways with frequency and vibration, which of course Reiki does as well. But then there are actual physical sound healing instruments that we can use too. So I would say like there was about 8 or 10 years of going through perimenopause where I just continually was learning about how to work with energy in new ways, in old ways, and but a little bit differently, learning about what healing really meant. So I would say those are the biggest challenging times that I've experienced in my life.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure. And I love it that you took all of those as teachable moments instead of
absolutely.
getting frustrated. You paused and you reflected and decided whether or not that resonated for you instead of allowing the emotion of, say, anger or frustration to come in. So you paused. So I love that.
I pause, but I'm absolutely human.
Of
So
course.
of course I experience the frustration
Yeah.
at times during all of these challenging times. I had frustration, I had some anger, I was wondering like, will this ever end? Like,
Hmm.
of course I had the myriad of human emotions around that. But I think because also I just have gathered these tools and had amazing teachers all of these years, and also amazing colleagues and other guides in life, there's always this sense of we can feel what we're feeling, absolutely, and we should acknowledge that.
Hmm.
And then if you allow it, if you make a little bit of tiny space even to know that maybe I'll meet a new practitioner, or maybe there'll be a great meditation that will come through, or, things arrive to us and we take that little spark of like, huh, I wonder what that is, huh, our heart will guide us to the right place, right? Yeah. Just
Yeah.
like how Reiki showed up in my life, like I didn't know
Yeah.
how incredibly magical and wonderful and practical this this technique or modality. I didn't know how much it would infuse every part of my life,
Right.
But
Right.
that little bit of curiosity, like, huh, yeah, let's check that out.
So
Yeah.
this is great into the next question. What do you wish your younger self knew about Reiki?
Oh my goodness. Well, I kind of wish that I learned what Reiki was long before I did. But I know it came in the perfect time for me also. Um, Gosh, the younger me. Hmm. I'm not sure I would really change how things progressed for me, except for maybe wishing I learned it when I was younger.
Sure.
I didn't know anyone before that.
Hmm.
But I actually wouldn't change anything about the evolution of Reiki and how it found me, and how like all the teachers I met along the way, and then other practitioners that maybe learned it in slightly different ways, things like that. I don't think I would change anything. I
Right.
feel like it's just evolved for me in the most perfect way and keeps evolving. It's not over.
Not over. There's no there.
There's no there.
Right. So, when it is time for you to get an energetic tune up, what are some qualities that you look for in a Reiki practitioner? And if you don't get tune ups, what are some qualities you look for in a Reiki teacher?
Mm. I do get tune-ups, absolutely. Mostly, it's not even like I have to ask them, like, where did you study or anything like
Hmm.
that. I mostly just feel into their energy a bit and feel if there's a general positivity, if there's a sense that they also have experienced Reiki for themselves and they just know the magic and the beauty of it. I think I really am drawn to practitioners who also kind of so-called stumbled into it. You know what I mean? I seem to be very drawn to those who are like, yeah, Reiki found me as well. And I was an artist and I was a this or
Hmm.
I was a that. But suddenly I found myself in a Reiki class, that kind of thing. Really, there's no set way. I just can feel if they're a wonderful person for me to receive from. I
Right.
just feel it. And I pay attention to when someone like mentions a name to me, like, oh, I knew someone in Berkeley, or I knew someone like I'll be like, oh, can you let me know their name? Because, if someone has mentioned them to me in a good way, then I know that I might want to connect with them, for myself as well as just to broaden my community. As far as teachers go, I was such again, I was a student who like took the class and then just like really took it in and worked with it for a while, and then took another class with the same teacher and then took it in and worked with it for a while. And I wasn't always on the lookout for another teacher. I worked with a chiropractor back in Colorado who also taught Reiki, and she's the one that I did study with. I kind of did the whole series over again from Reiki 1 to Master with her because it was a slightly different perspective on teaching, equally as wonderful.
Hmm.
And then years later, I saw that William Rand, who was in my lineage, was like my teacher's teacher's teacher or something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, he's still teaching. I'm not sure how much longer he'll be teaching.
Sure.
So this is around 2017, 2018. And I saw that he was coming to Southern California to teach. I think at that point he was just teaching like a holy fire Reiki class when he was developing kind of a little bit more of his own style of Reiki. And I thought, well, that just sounds fabulous to go and study with him. So I
Yeah.
did that master training, and I loved it because that was very different from my other trainings because we were in a hotel in a big room with like 35 other practitioners from all over the place. You know what I mean? Like all different levels, all different backgrounds, all there gathered for Reiki. And I just thought that was a whole different experience for me and
Yeah.
just wonderful. So I went back and did his Karuna Reiki training, like 2 years, the next year or 2 years later, which really broadened and deepened my Reiki energy a lot more. And I just loved it. So currently, those have been my teachers, officially my teachers.
Yeah.
Definitely consider anyone who I've received from or shared Reiki with the same as you. I'm always learning as well. Everyone who comes to receive a session, I am always learning as well. There's no, it's not that some are teachers and some aren't. Yeah.
Sure. Very
Yeah.
good.
I'm open to learning with more new teachers as they arrive.
Very good. So, what advice would you give someone who's just entering this type of work?
Hmm. It's such a great question, really. You know, my advice would be to follow your heart, to feel that inner guidance toward who you want to study with or who you want to even do trades with as colleagues and
Hmm.
co-students. Just follow your own intuition and know that Reiki will help you do that. It will help clarify that for you. If you're not sure how you're going to use Reiki, just know that the sky's the limit. There really is. You don't have to be a quote unquote Reiki practitioner in an office with a table. You can if you want to, but there are so many, there's a myriad, a million ways, as many ways as there are people on this planet. That's how you can use Reiki. So when I teach, that's what I tell my students as well. Just because you're here with me in an office that has a table and this is how I use it a lot,
Mhm.
does not mean this is how you're going to use it or how you're meant to use it. And so, yeah, read whatever book seems interesting to you, talk to people, just be with it yourself. And that's what I would say. You'll know. The Reiki will guide you. Yeah.
Very good. So, what books do you recommend?
Yeah. So, I mean, I was really thinking about that because I have like a bajillion books, as a lot of
Right.
us might do,
Yeah.
But I was thinking about even just along the Reiki journey, what books have been really good for me, you know? So I have a little list here. I really loved for a long time, the classic book for me was the original Reiki handbook.
Mm,
It was published a long time ago.
sure.
It's got like all the basics in it. It's got some great pictures. I really enjoyed that one. And then there's a couple of books that Frank Petter published, and William Rand worked with him on at least one, I think, that go into more about the actual true history of Reiki and Dr. Usui, because there was a lot of stories and a lot of misinformation that happened over the years
Yes.
for various reasons, right? There's a book called The Spirit of Reiki and one called Reiki Fire. And those are both, Frank Petter is the author or the co-author on both of those. And so those are really excellent for diving into really the origins of how Dr. Usui's version of Reiki came about, and also about how what we know of as Reiki existed long before it was called Reiki.
Yes.
This is just an essential human healing energy. And maybe not even just human. It's just universal healing energy, right?
Right, right.
So humans have been utilizing this energy long before it was a thing called Reiki. So, I think it's really wonderful to dive into that. And it helps us broaden our understanding and our respect for the people who did bring it through
Mhm.
and who really made it their life's journey and their life's work to share this kind of healing with people. And Mrs. Takata, who is so important for what we know now, her journey of sharing this work. We might not know this right now if she
Sure.
hadn't done what she did. So just honoring the lineage that we do have, but also knowing it's much more than that too. Um, Other books, like for me, and I know we'll get to a question later about this, but even in my yoga nidra, when I teach yoga nidra, even when I do sound healing things, I found that Reiki is infused in that as well. That you can simply set the intention for Reiki to be flowing, and it is flowing through whatever I'm doing. So, I mean, there's a book that my yoga nidra teacher wrote that is yoga nidra is also energy work.
Mhm.
So her name is Kamini Desai, and her book is called Yoga Nidra, The Art of Transformational Sleep. I think that's an excellent book for anyone interested in that. Um, and there's also this really nice esoteric book called The Kybalion. It's
Mm.
the study of Hermetic philosophy, and it really goes into the principles of energy, for instance, as above, so below, that kind of thing. So that's just a really classic kind of esoteric text that I really love. So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So, what classes do you offer? Events, workshops?
hmm Yeah, so the way that I do offer Reiki trainings, the way that I have been offering them is that when the student asks me, that's when I teach.
Mm,
Instead of setting dates throughout the year and then gathering lots of people, first, I don't have a space for a lot of people right now. I like to do small, intimate teachings.
Mm-hmm.
1 to 4 people is usually what they are. And so when the student asks, that's when I teach. So for instance, a student just asked me about a month ago, hey, I'm wondering if you're teaching something soon. And I said, would you like to study? Let's set up a date and time that works for you.
Hmm.
And so there'll be either 1 or 2 in that class. There might be 2 joining us. So they're very beautiful, intimate, and we can really tailor make it to what each student is looking for or is interested in. So that's the way I'm currently teaching. And other things that are coming up, I do collaborate a lot with a fellow yoga instructor, and we do workshops and retreats and things like that together. And we have coming up this November, I'm not sure this podcast will be posted by then, but this November we're doing a day-long retreat, and it's at a Zendo up in Muir Woods in Northern California. And so in the day long, there is a yoga practice in the morning led by my friend with a meditation. And in the afternoon, there's a yoga nidra with sound healing that is infused with Reiki in the afternoon. And
Beautiful.
then we have another workshop, a retreat coming up next April of 2025. It's a women's retreat. It will be up in Mendocino. It's a 3-night retreat. And so it's a combination of yoga, meditation, some chanting, yoga nidra, lots of sound healing, restorative yoga, and all of that, of course, is infused with Reiki. So that's what we have coming up.
All
Yeah.
right, beautiful. And you do have a weekly yoga nidra class, correct?
I do. On Wednesday nights, there's a, this is how I know you, really, Tracy. This is how we met. I have an online live stream yoga nidra with sound healing class every Wednesday at 8 p.m. All the information, and you can sign up through my website, and anyone can join anytime. Even if you've never done yoga nidra before, it doesn't matter at all. You're more than welcome. And it's donation based. So whether you can pay or not pay, it doesn't matter to me. Please come and check it out. If you're new, check it out if you're not. But it's 8 p.m. Pacific time. And again, it's all Reiki infused.
Hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah. And you can have your off on mute, your
Oh,
camera
yeah.
off, right?
Yeah. You can join without your face being shown.
Sure.
You can be in your pajamas on your
Hmm.
bed.
Very good.
You
Very
don't have
good.
to say a word. That's right. So it's yeah.
So, where can we find you if we want to connect?
If you want to connect in person, I'm located in San Francisco. I'm in Noe Valley, and I have an office here where I offer in-person body work, energy work, sound healing. All that includes Reiki. I also can do virtual sessions from here to anywhere, and I do those pretty regularly. So online, we can do energy healing sessions, Reiki and sound healing sessions, yoga nidra and sound healing sessions. So there's a lot available on a virtual level as well. But I'm located here in San Francisco. That's where you can find me.
Okay. Do you have a website or somewhere we can go to listen to your sound healings?
I do have a website. It's harmony-bodyworkenergy.com. And you can check it all out there. And I'm also on a site called Patreon. It's a platform that's really wonderful. It's for lots of different creators. And so I offer recordings, so you can find them on demand. I have recordings of yoga nidra with sound healing. I have Reiki infused sound healings. I have just sound healings. So I offer, if you want to get all of the things I offer on Patreon, there's 8 things offered per month because I also record all of the Wednesday night community yoga nidras and post them on Patreon as well. So it's all on demand. You can find it all there. On my website, there are a few yoga nidra and sound healings that you can download, just individual sessions, unless they're recorded from previous times. So if you want to check it out that way, you can. So there's a few different ways.
All right, wonderful. Well, that ends our first part of our journey together, and I'm going to continue to be your guide through the next section, which is the social media questions. So here we go. Number 1, do you incorporate Reiki into your yoga nidra?
That is such a great question, you know? And yes, definitely. I absolutely incorporate Reiki into it. I started doing that when I really started teaching yoga nidra in a yoga studio, which I never imagined I would do. But when I moved to San Francisco, they asked me to start doing it, and I found myself teaching yoga nidra in a yoga studio. And before that, I'd always been doing Reiki like on a person in my studio, just one person at a time kind of thing, or maybe on a family member or something like that. But I realized as I was guiding a yoga nidra class and doing some sound healing, it's the same because now it's just a group of people in a room. But of course, I'm just offering that Reiki energy through what I'm doing and sending it to the whole room. And then I realized, of course, I want to send Reiki to the space before I even arrive,
Mm, right.
Reiki the space before I get there. So now that's just kind of always happening. I teach in a studio once a week now too. And so the Reiki is always flowing to the studio. And I just know that the Reiki that is right for the people that arrive in the room, that's the Reiki that will flow. And if there's any specific Reiki symbols that come into my mind or anything like that, then of course I allow that to flow as well. But mostly I know that it's just flowing in what is meant for them to receive, what is the best for them to receive that they will. So that is such a great question. Yeah.
Beautiful. Number two, you are a Yoga Nidra advanced facilitator. Can you tell me a little bit about the Yoga Nidra program?
Absolutely. So when I first studied Yoga Nidra, I thought I was just going to study it for myself, for my own practice, because I had, again, Yoga Nidra found me, and I found it to be incredibly powerful and helpful for me at a certain point in my life. And so I just found the teacher that resonated with me and called them up. This was in 2006 when I was still living in Colorado. And I called them up in February and said, "When is your next training?" And they said, "Oh, it's not until November."
Mhm.
I said, "Oh no, what should I do?" And they said, "Here, we'll send you the whole manual and a bunch of recordings and just do all the homework and study before you even arrive and keep practicing." So I went for a 2-week immersion study where I did get the certification, even though I didn't think I was going to facilitate.
Sure.
Um, and that was amazing. Now they teach it differently. And my teacher is Kamini Desai, the one I mentioned earlier, who wrote the book. And now they'll do immersion weekends, and then they will also do like level 1 yoga nidra training, and then level 2, and then more advanced level. It's so far as I know, it's the most comprehensive level of yoga nidra training that's currently out there. So there's the most amount of hours, and there's a lot of practice involved in a training. There is also a lot of study on the science behind yoga nidra because they're
Mhm.
doing more and more study, of course,
Yeah.
behind all these kinds of things, which is so wonderful. So you learn why you're doing what you're doing. You learn the structure of yoga nidra and where you're helping guide people to. You learn more about the state of yoga nidra, the in between sleep and awake state of being. So you just learn all about that, and then you really hone your skill on being able to facilitate that for people. It's a really wonderful training. I highly recommend it. Even if you don't think you're going to facilitate it for anyone, it's really great for deepening your own practice and understanding. Yeah.
Beautiful. Number three, of all your modalities that you are certified and trained in, which one do you use in your own personal life or personal practice?
Another great question.
Of
And there isn't just one.
course,
That's
there
the
isn't.
thing. There isn't just one. I practice yoga nidra all the time. I have recordings of my teachers, and there is one of my teachers' names is John Vosler. I consider him a teacher and a colleague. But he also does live online things on Mondays. He lives in Southern California, so when he's in town, he does live stream events, and I jump online and lie down also and do a yoga nidra with him and with other teachers here in town that guided. I try to get to their class whenever I can. I use Reiki on myself all the time. I'm sometimes not even aware that I'm
Yeah.
doing it. That's how much I'm doing it. Sometimes I'm like, oh, right, I was just doing Reiki for my headache, right? You
Mhm.
know. Um, I use Reiki on my pets. I use Reiki for my friends and my husband, my family, whether they're near or far, all the time. Of course, any client that I see. I use sound healing for myself all the time, whether it's a bowl or a tuning fork or a chime. I'm always using that. And of course, self massage, always. I receive shiatsu sessions from my teacher back in New York and body work from other people. I can't think of anything that I've learned that I'm not actually use for myself.
Right. Very good.
I find it all so amazing and so healing.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
very
sure.
good. So that was our last question. So as we were talking, is there anything you might have forgotten or something that you would like to share with the listeners? You can take the time now. The floor is yours.
Oh, well. Well, I just want to thank you, Tracy, for this podcast that you're doing to bring awareness to not just Reiki, but to all forms of energy healing and just healing in general and what that means.
Yeah.
It's great to be able to just dialogue about this,
Hmm.
to really honor and respect where all of this kind of came from, the roots of it, and understand it more deeply, and understand that it's also very practical. Um, Universal life energy is what we are and what the world is, and so understanding the spirituality, the mysticism of it, the magic of it, but also the fact that it's already here, it's totally practical. And I love talking about that with you. So,
Wonderful. Wonderful.
yeah,
Thank
I don't
you.
think
Thank
I have
you.
anything else to add.
Yeah. Well, this is coming to the complete of our Ready Set Reiki journey, but I was saving this towards the end instead of the beginning of our journey because I wanted the listeners to have an opportunity to hear your story. But you and I have our own very special journey together, and so I'm gonna share that journey and why it was so important to have you on the podcast. So, as many of you, we've all experienced collectively in 2020, we had COVID that arrived. But just a few months before COVID arrived in January of 21st, 2020, my sister passed, and it was sudden. And of course, in March, I lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at that time, everything shut down. And then I was connected to a resource of a studio called Yoga Works. And Yoga Works offered just this huge variety. And I just took every single thing to find my just right. And so I always approach things as that, elementary teacher in me to find the Goldilocks, find my just right. And there I found Yoga Nidra. And Yoga Nidra was on Wednesdays and Fridays. And bonus, I didn't have to turn my camera on. I didn't have to speak. You held space for me. And what you didn't realize or knew at the time is when you were playing and, your beautiful instruments, you were holding space for me. I was weeping as you were offering that because it was the grief coming out. Now, in that time we had COVID, you offered me a lifeline through those months because I had to be strong in the family, not only for my father, my stepmother, my children. My husband was in El Paso, Texas. So you were my lifeline as I lay there in the evening and listened to you. And, it was beginning cumulatively to change me. I wasn't reacting as I once was before. I had that anger and I would be quick to yell at my kids. And I started to slowly see the shifts and change. It got through COVID. And then towards Christmas, my dad got really sick. My dad collapsed on Christmas Eve, had to go into the hospital. And all the while, I looked forward to your Wednesday, to your Friday, and I continued on until Yoga Works disbanded and they came down to I believe it was 12 teachers, and you made the choice to leave to go on your own. And I believe that was just due to the quality of the platform they were using with that. But my father eventually passed, and lost a dog, I lost a friend, and all these things. You were my lifeline that every evening that I listened to. And it inspired me to go learn Yoga Nidra and study it and begin to share that with the world. And I've gone on to help other students to go out and share it with the world. So know you've made a difference in my life. And I want to say thank you for being a part of my journey, my healing journey. And, it's just a matter of finding that just right. And you were that just right for me. And now as I listen to you every Wednesday night, your voice just brings such comfort to me. And that I feel this feeling of safety because you carried me in a way, a little piece of that through all these experiences. And again, it's cumulative. It was, faithfully showing up, doing the work as well. But you were a huge part of that healing within me as well. So I want to thank you. And that's why it was so important. But our journey will still continue. But I just wanted the listeners to know how important the work that you're doing is and how it can change and help it. And the grief that I had for my sister was a little bit more softened because I had done this work. I had shown up. I had that non-attachment, those things that you learn through Yoga Nidra by going down through the different brain waves and all the science behind it. And that's what helped me get through so much of that. And again, the Reiki helped as well. The yoga helped with all those other modalities. But this was really like, I looked forward to this every night as I lay down. And, in the practice of Yoga Nidra, we try to be awake and aware. And I would wake up and my headphones would still be on. I'm like, oh goodness, she had to shut it off. But it's what my body needed. My subconscious never slept. But I want to thank you for that. So thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. That is so beautiful and so incredibly moving.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing up for yourself.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing that story as well.
Yeah. And we're here to show up for the world. So that's why we're here and we're letting everyone know. But thank you again. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join me on this journey.
It's an honor. Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right, my wonderful listeners, if you'd like your question featured on Ready, Set, Reiki, reach out to www.readysetreiki.com. If you'd like to get a Reiki training or a yoga training or take a yoga class or a Reiki class, reach out to Feather Sister, which offers online classes, online trainings, and in person in El Paso, Texas. I'm Tracy Seawright, and this has been Ready, Set, Reiki.